Okay, knight b to d7. Perfect. Okay, and then here the question is, how can the white pieces prove that black's last move was dubious? So how can we prove that this was not the way to continue? So maybe inaccurate. So here's the first moment, guys. We're gonna have like 5 minutes, no more than that. And this is again why I say this is very realistic. In a game, if you are familiar with this as white, you see that knight b to d7 is not what they typically play, it's not what the theory recommends. How can I exploit it? But you cannot spend 20 minutes to decide that. So you have 3-4 minutes maybe, because if you take too much on every single move, you're gonna run out of time at the end and energy. So let me just activate quickly our timer. There we go. All right, we got 5 minutes. Have fun. Okay, a5. How can we prove that knight b to d7 is not the way to go? a5. Now, a5 seems like a very attractive move, and I think it's thematic here. But what's particular about that knight b to d7? Now, it's blocking the bishop. So it has to be something like, okay, let's not, where is that knight going next? And let's make it let's make them unable to do so. So I'm thinking f4, but I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what it is. Is it a5? Maybe a5? You got a good point. It almost seems like a5 prevents that, but nope, they get it anyways. And then if en passant, they get to activate the queen, they put pressure through the b file, and don't forget, that's what they want to play. They want to play on the queen side, especially if you're playing Kasparov, that you know he's very tactical. You want to stay away from him, from those sharp positions. Now we've used 2 minutes already. I gotta say, a5 is, I don't know if it's because you mentioned that already, but it's the one move that comes to mind. What else could it be? Ah, I got it. I know what it is. And guys, I think now that I found the move, these are games that one way or the other, either specific positions or the games I have reviewed at some point in my life. So I think I've seen this game before, or maybe that move I remembered it, but it makes sense. Now that I considered it, it just makes sense. All right, 1 more minute, at least. It's not a5. I think it's not a5. Let me double check. Yeah, I got it. Crazy idea. e5. Ooh, come on, guys, come on. e5 is not gonna prove that it's not good. It's gonna prove that it's gonna make them happy they actually played it, because then they take the pawn, knight in the center. gf4. f4 you mean? Or bishop f4? Oh, you mean to put pressure on the pawn. Alright guys, so the move is, and it only makes sense, again, I'm playing this as white, my opponent plays knight b to d7, I've never seen this before. Why is that? Why is it that no one plays it? Well, no worries. No worries. Well, the move is actually knight h3. This is the reason why this move is dubious. Now, this is very interesting. This game is from 1981, and here I'm reading what they have in the book. I don't know if you can see. Well, you cannot see, but it doesn't matter. So basically here Gulch, he's saying in his book that when they play this game, this variation with bishop g5, the theory was still being developed. So this game was very important for the theory. So this tells you guys how good they were. They were playing at this level without a lot of theory going. So anyways, knight h3 makes perfect sense. The problem is, in this system, notice how the pawns are on the light squares. And this knight can only go to e2, right? By going to e2, I'm making this bishop even worse. And not only that, from e2, where am I going to go next, right? I cannot go to d4. I can only go to c1 or to g3, and you could be attacked with that pawn. That's a very thematic plan for black. So this move is allowing white to solve that problem. I'm going to go to h3, then I'm going to go to f2, and the bishop is still open to come out. So that's the main idea. So knight h3 was played, of course. Let me just make sure that I got that correct. Yep. Then h6, we have to make a decision with the bishop. Now, quick question for you. What do you do with the bishop? Do we take? Do we go back to h4? Do we go to f4, e3? I already know what not to do, but I'm debating what I should do. And to make it even more realistic, guys, let's keep in mind we're playing a hyper aggressive and tactical opponent. That's important. When you're gonna play a game, you get the pairing. Oh, I'm gonna play this guy. If you know them, great. If not, you look them up, and more or less you get a feeling for what kind of positions they like to play, what kind of style they have, and that helps you as well, right? So keep in mind you're playing Kasparov, you gotta make a decision now. There you go. Number one, like this is almost a no-brainer. We shouldn't take because we're giving up the pair of bishops, and like you said, I'm giving up the bishop that controls the dark squares. And this is the most important bishop. With all of my pawns on light squares, this one is the bad bishop. This one is the good bishop. So I want to preserve the bishop. Now the question is, where do I put it? All right, bishop f4 is the first move that came to mind. And that's why I said, keep in mind you're playing Kasparov. Bishop f4, as nice as it seems, they could easily defend the pawn. And then you're giving them g5, g4. Maybe a little bit risky, but it could create unpleasant complications for us. Just keep that in mind. So process of elimination, I don't want to take, I don't want to go to f4 because of g5, g4. Same thing with bishop h4. That leaves me with 1, 2, and 3. c1, I think it makes no sense here. d2, a little bit too passive. So that leaves me with e3. Yeah, e3, active, safer. I could put the queen behind it after and then punish them for playing that h6. So after h6, indeed, we got bishop e3. Then knight to e5, and of course we don't want them to take on h3, so I'm assuming knight f2 happened. Perfect. Then bishop d7, bishop e2, and notice how they're just developing their pieces. That's the first step. Opening, get your pieces out, castle, control the center, then we start to attack. So bishop e2, we got pawn to g5, and don't forget you're playing Kasparov. Imagine if your bishop were on f4, right? This is coming with a tempo, then g4. And I don't think he cares about leaving the king on e8 or just moving it to f8 and attack you with the rook and everything else. If you split the board in half, black pieces have 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 and 6 on the king side. So we have to be very careful. He's attacking on the queen side, and he's attacking on the king's, and he's attacking on the queen side, and he's attacking on the king side. Now, after pawn to g5, we got queen to d2, queen e7, and now the question is, how does the white pieces have to play? So what's the way to continue here as white? I'm gonna put this back to 5 minutes and have fun. Again, those of you who are joining now, in a real game, tournament game, you cannot spend 10, 15, 20 minutes every time you get to a critical moment. So we gotta get used to making quick decisions in 3, 4, 5 minutes max. That's it. So here we go. White to move. Queen e7 just happened. Should we castle? Should we not castle? Should we play a5? Should we play a4? Nah. Waiting move? What do you mean waiting move? Now, look at this. If I'm playing this game as white, my opponent just played queen e7. This is looking like they're ready or close to ready to just start to attack me. So waiting move, you're gonna get crushed or at least attacked heavily soon. So I think we have to, we're fully developed too, so we have to make a decision as what to do with the king. I don't think my opponent has a clear plan yet. Okay, h4. Now, okay, wait for them to, wait for them to castle. I don't want to compromise yet. h4, g4, f4. h4, okay. h4, g4, f4. Let me see. Time to play a5. a5 is very interesting, I have to say. And then knight a5, knight b6 comes to mind. I don't feel like, if I'm playing this, I don't feel like playing f4 anytime, because then this is a clear target for them. Right now, this queen, even if they put the rook behind it, either rook, it's not a big deal. They're looking straight at a pawn that is defended by another pawn. The moment I push f4, I don't know when, but this is going to be a burden for me, so I have to be careful with that. So this plan of h4, g4, f4, I don't like it. h4, g4, outhold. Keep this together. g4, same thing. I'm just creating weaknesses. And again, look, I just thought of knight d3 just to eliminate a few pieces, right? But knight c4 is very annoying, so that cannot be. So my candidate moves are a5 is very attractive. It keeps coming at us. I'm thinking also rook b1 to play b4. Ugly, but I have to consider it. And castling is interesting. Castling is interesting because if I castle, then I can just start to open up files in the center. Like, you have to make a decision about that king. Are you gonna stay there? Are you gonna go to the king side? If you do, my castling is fine. If you go to the queen side, I don't think so. This is just too easy for me to get to you. So I'm thinking castling, how quickly can you checkmate me? Drop it back. Okay, I like that idea, but then look at the difference between rook b1 and knight a2. Rook b1, I'm improving one of my pieces that I haven't used. By moving the knight, I'm using a piece that I already invested time to develop. I'm bringing it back, and it's not really offering a lot, right? And they could just play a5, right? And b4 is never going to happen. So I'm okay with this move because I'm not compromising much. I'm not bothering the rest of my pieces. So that's why I considered rook b1 to play b4. Now, to be honest, if I have to pick between these two, I'll play a5. And then knight a4, knight b6. Now, do I like that better than castling? All right, I'll play a5. Again, I know I'm playing a very aggressive opponent. I don't want to go to the king side and then they start opening it up. Plus, a5, it makes sense. It's part of a plan, and it gives me an extra move to see what my opponent is going to do. Are you going to stay there? Are you going to castle? How are you going to react? Yeah, exactly. Rook b1 is flexible. a5, not so flexible, but it makes sense, and I'm not compromising much when it comes to my king. So anyways, no, yeah, the move here straight up was a5, and he's marking it as exclam. So black's last move allowed me to fix his queen side and then start to attack it. So basically a5 keeps this pawn on b7, and then we're gonna start putting pressure. I'm assuming with knight a4, knight b6, maybe some ideas with queen b3 or just b4. But now this is a pawn that stops two pawns, so it makes perfect sense. So going back here, queen e7, they don't have queen b6 anymore. So a5, b5, a takes b6. So they don't have that. Yep, you got it, guys. You called it. You got it. You got it. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So after a5, we got rook b8, and then knight to a4. Simple. b5 is not happening anytime soon. And notice how that knight, instead of going back, it's moving forward. It's just looking for that weak square. Okay, next we got knight to h5. All right, so look at this. Important note here from the author. So he's saying that after knight h5, we can see how the black pieces know what they're doing, right? We're talking about Kasparov. And the logic behind this move is they realize there's nothing for them on the queen side. So Kasparov knows b5 is not happening. Without b5, there's nothing on the queen side. So he needs to create something on the other side, on the king side, at all cost. Notice that we're not talking about the center because the center is fixed. And typically when this happens, we gotta pick a flank. So I have nothing on the queen side, I have nothing in the center, I gotta create something. Don't stay passive because they're going to little by little improve, and just outplay you. So the other piece of information here that is important is that if instead they had played the natural bishop b5, they were talking about castling followed by, well, let me ask you, what do you think is the following move for the white piece or the following maneuver? And it has to do with bishop b5. What changed when the bishop moved to b5? No worries. My bad. I probably said it the wrong way. So here's the point. When the bishop left, the light squares are weak, and more specifically, g5. So Gulch is saying, I was ready to just play castle, followed by h1, g3, f5. We've had like 2 training sessions where we've seen this maneuver and reinforced it. And once the knight gets to f5, guys, game is over. That's it. So we, of course, get rid of the bishop, and f5 is going to belong to us forever. So always paying attention to those details. There you go. Perfect. So anyways, Kasparov instead played knight h5. Then, okay, another, knight b6. Perfect. Then bishop b5. Then Gulch plays castle. And the black pieces do the same. Black pieces do the same thing. And now we get to a critical moment, and they ask, how does the white pieces proceed with his plan? So we give ourselves another 5 minutes. Now, the first question is, what is the plan, right? So the plan for us, I think, is to attack it on the queen side. So when he played a5, he said, I'm going to fix the queen side, and then I'm going to attack it. So now we gotta be consistent with that. I already know black is gonna play f5 sooner or later, g4, f4, things like that. So I need to be in the lookout for that. You know, I was not looking at the king side, honestly, but this looks like something that they've done to me in the past. They completely sealed the king side, and then you can worry about the queen side. Now, what could be a drawback to that move? Because if it's not, maybe that's the way to go. I see automatically f3 becomes weaker, but it's defended. That might be the drawback to it. Even though f3 is defended now, it's gonna be a forever nightmare. I'm gonna have to be defending it for forever. I could play king g2. Now knight f4, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. So g4, knight f4, bishop takes, pawn takes. f4. Nope, I don't think we want to play on the king side. Not like that. Exactly. Yeah, we're on the same page. Rook c1 and b4. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was debating honestly b4 right away, or maybe just prepare it a little bit more. All right, I think b4. I agree with you. I agree with you. All right. So let's go. Yeah, you got it. b4. And then the note next to it is, this move is the culmination of white's queenside strategy. That's it. Once you open up the queen side, it's just a matter of bringing all of your pieces, attack. And guys, these games where you play on the flanks, typically whoever makes contact first should take the initiative. Now, the black pieces will not be able to do anything because they have to react to my play on the queen side. So anyways, after b4, we got pawn to c4 instead of taking. Did you guys consider that? Okay, interesting note here. So he's saying, in the case of bishop takes, queen takes, pawn takes, not queen d2 like I said, just rook a to b1 and we take the pawn. And after that, we could play on the c file, or we could just double up the rooks and put pressure on the backward pawn. That's going to be a target for the remaining of the game. So something to keep in mind. Now, the idea behind pawn to c4 is, according to Gulch, and this is very important for all of us to keep in mind, he's trying to make me waste time to collect that pawn, right? So the pawn is going to fall sooner or later, but I'm going to have to invest time, and in the meantime, they're going to be able to create something on the king side. Like Kasparov knows he needs to create something on the king, otherwise it's just lost, right? So after pawn to c4, we got rook a to c1, pawn to f5. This is a King's Indian defense style. He needs to create something. He needs to target the pawn on e4. Then knight takes c4, give me the pawn. Bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, and then pawn to g4. Again, nothing more matters to the black pieces. They already dropped the pawn. They need to create something on the king. Now, guys, sometimes it's easier to play when you're down a pawn than when you're up a pawn, especially if you're being attacked like this. A lot of us freak out. We would rather be the one attacking, but this is a skill that we need to develop. We focus so much on attacking, and it's so difficult to defend, so we have to get good at that. Yeah, basically, exactly. But sometimes you do it because you want to heal. Here, I feel like he had no choice. He has to just play energetically, right? So anyways, after pawn to g4, we got pawn takes g4, f takes g4, and now we have another question. How can the white pieces extinguish black's activity? So we're looking for a move to just tell him, look, hold your horses, there's nothing for you here. So let me put the timer back to 5 minutes and have fun. Knight h1, and they don't have g3 anymore. Bishop h6. All right, this is a move that we have to consider, but be careful when you're being attacked, and be careful when you are down in the number of pieces. Like, they already have the rook, they have the knight, they have the other knight, they have the queen, they have the bishop, so that'll make it 5 pieces on the king side. We got only 3. I don't want to go greedy and just get that pawn. Maybe that's the move, but I'll really think about it before doing it. We played g3 ourselves. Okay, so top 3 candidate moves: take, g3, knight h1. Exactly. So this one is not good because of knight f3 automatically. But guys, it's just a candidate move after you decide if you want it or not. So that one we could disregard, and we are left with knight h1 and bishop h6. Bishop e2, I like it because we have our bishop 2 squares away from that knight. We're bringing pieces back to defend on the king side. Knight h1, knight takes, rook takes, king takes. Now don't forget that if they go knight c4, you could take like that, or you could take them first, then you take. So something to consider. Yeah, if I'm playing this in the game, I wouldn't play bishop e2 just because of knight f3. So that leaves me with knight h1. That's the way to deal with this g3. And I can even see myself playing knight h1, knight g3. If you take me, I take back. These pawns are going to be extremely useful to defend the king. It even prevents that queen from jumping to h4. So it has to be that. It has to be that. All right, guys, let's keep going. Yeah, that's the move. That's the move. Knight h1. So, like I told you, every time we get to a critical moment, the first one to respond is his student. And basically his student says, white has the advantage, he's up a pawn, although it's a backward pawn, but he's up a pawn. So black is trying to generate a kingside attack. Yeah, so yeah, g4, g3 is definitely the only way for them to create that. And knight h1 basically takes it away from them. That's it. Now, queen h4 is the next move for black. Notice how they keep bringing pieces. They have nothing to lose. They already are down material. Yeah, they're mentioning here that knight f3 was also possible. So you see, this is a move that we have to keep in mind. Again, it's so much difficult to defend, guys. Even though this position has to be better for white, any of us could mess it up if we get attacked like this. So we have to be extremely careful. So anyways, queen h4 was played. Then bishop e2, only now bishop e2. Notice that we keep defending that f3 square. We cannot ignore that knight f3. So pawn to g3. Now, how do we continue? Do we take with the pawn? Do we take with the knight? Do we play h3? Do we do nothing? How should we continue as the white pieces? Okay, I got h3. Well, maybe not really. I was gonna say h3 is gonna leave your your knight trapped on h1. You can never get out, at least not for now. But then I'm thinking h3 followed by bishop takes, queen takes, knight g3. Ah, I didn't see it either. I didn't see it either. So h3 doesn't work because of this. Okay, makes sense. I mean, it's gonna hang anyways. Hey, it's gonna hang anyways. If you go knight g3 or pawn takes, sooner or later you drop the pawn. So bishop e2, g3, just putting pressure. And you see, this is how easy a player like Kasparov can just turn things upside down. He's putting pressure, and now we feel nervous, we feel the pressure, and it's so difficult to find the right defensive move. All right, let's go over the answer. So we have the move, guys, was actually knight g3. Now, logic behind it, it only makes sense to trade our really bad knight on h1 for the active knight on h5, right? It could jump anytime, it's very powerful, so it only makes sense. Now, they are giving on top of that solid calculation. If we had played h takes g3, then we got rook f1, queen e4, take my knight on h5, knight goes to c4, none of us calculated this, knight f2, yeah, and queen e3. And queen e3, and forget about any advantage that you could have, because now this extra pawn that you have is just a double pawn, isolated double pawns. All right, let me go back, guys, and let me try to visualize that. So they play g3. If I go h takes g3, rook takes, then queen e4, bishop h5, knight c4, queen e4, bishop h5, knight c4. All right, so we gotta take with the knight, then knight takes g3, h takes g3, queen e4, rook f8, rook f8, and then bishop f4. And then after this move, black's initiative has evaporated. White has an extra pawn and a much better position. Generally speaking, the game is won. Yeah, easier said than done. Now we got h5, rook goes to c7, rook on the 7th rank, queen b1, we block with the queen, and then queen g6. Now I'm thinking, guys, queen b4 should not work. It just should not work. I have my rook on the 7th rank, my piece is aiming at the king side. Now I'm the one attacking on the king side. I could even think of queen takes and then bring the queen over. All right, what to play if they go queen b4? So again, we go back. They go queen b1. We're considering queen c1, but we gotta know what to do if they take on b4. So what's the right continuation? To me, it just felt like they couldn't do it, but there's something concrete. There's a concrete calculation. Hey, hey. Yeah, bishop a6, that's what I thought initially. Okay, taken and then queen g5. Well, look at this. They are giving instead the interesting line, let's say queen c1, queen b4. They're giving rook g7, king g7, only then bishop a6. And yeah, my bishop is coming in now no matter what, so I'm gonna get the rook. Tactics, 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 tactics. I did not even consider it. I did not even consider it. There you go, there you go. Perfect, perfect. All right, so anyways, we got queen g6 was played. Then queen goes to c2. I got the pair of bishops. I got the extra pawn. Happy to simplify the game. Queen e8. Then queen e4. h4. G takes e4. Queen d8. Yeah, nothing particularly interesting here. Just take on b7. Queen c8. Rook e7. Queen d8. And then, guys, what is the final move that made the black pieces resign? One more move and black pieces simply resign. While you play, don't try to get fancy. Yep, simple puzzle that any of us could miss, 100%. That's it, bishop g5 and Kasparov finally resigned. Now guys, last thing that we have to do before we go on to the next one, let's try to remember the whole game from the beginning. So